Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood. I'm here today with senior columnist Tim Carney. And Tim, last week the media made another major mistake, this time covering ivermectin, which is an anti-parasitic drug that also has versions that are used for livestock. And the false story that they ran with was that ivermectin overdose cases were overwhelming hospitals in Oklahoma. That turned out to be completely false. Why do you think it was so easy for the media to run with that, though?
It was amazing. There were so many red flags in this story. I mean, you could check with the Poison Control Centers. The National Association of Poison Control Centers said that there was a very high number, about 450 calls about ivermectin in the whole country. So that's obviously not enough to overwhelm an individual hospital unless they're all in the same part of Oklahoma. But it fits so well into the whole mindset of so much of the sort of East Coast media that, oh, well, there's a bunch of dumb hicks out there who are using their farm or their horses dewormer to treat COVID. And so it just fit the stereotypes, and the media went ahead and ran with it. And part of it was that the Biden administration had already set the tone by pretending that there isn't an FDA version approved of ivermectin, not for treating COVID, but for treating, head lice or those sort of parasitic infections. They pretended that that didn't exist and pretended that ivermectin was only a horse paste. So that you had the Biden administration sort of saying it's free reign on anybody who wants to use this as a treatment, and thus the media went wild.
President Biden sort of renewing this past week his focus on the pandemic. He unveiled the 6 prongs of his new mitigation strategy. So 2 things here. One, do you think that he is sort of just leaning into something, COVID management, that has been successful for him in the past in terms of polling? And 2, do you think there's an appetite within the public for even more requirements related to COVID?
There's certainly lots of people who want more restrictions and lots of people who don't, which is one reason that the federal role is not exactly appropriate. Biden largely and Trump almost entirely left most of this up to the states, and some of those states leave it up to the localities, and it's going to be different based on sort of how people feel, how widespread the spread is, whether you're a warm climate or a cold climate. So a federal centralized policy is something you've had the news media and a lot of Democrats calling for, and so Biden's sort of stepping into that. But the upside for him is he does have the ability to look competent on this, and more important, empathetic. Trump's biggest problem was that he lacked the ability to step out there and really say, I feel your pain. This is Biden's biggest personal virtue, is to sort of suffer together with people. So making it the number one issue really is smart politically, even if his policies don't change the way anybody behaves.
Finally, when it comes to schools, Biden calling on them to remain open, but he's also pushing for more requirements in schools like widespread asymptomatic testing. And also a lot of local school districts are urging classrooms, teachers to send kids home if they have even the slightest hint of any kind of symptom. Do you think that is smart policy scientifically, but also just politically?
Well, on the local level, where I live, Montgomery County, Maryland, if a kid coughs, not only he, but everybody in his classroom is likely to get sent home because of sort of a bungled new rule issued. And that sort of overreaction really does tap into this fear of a lot of people that schools are inherently unsafe, and a message of the teachers unions, and it's not grounded in science. So I saw somewhere that 2% of all students exposed to a positive case ended up getting sick. So 98% chance, even if the kid next to you does have COVID, you're going to be safe. What has to happen is people who we think might be sick, either they are showing symptoms or they were exposed, rapid testing for them. A, to stop the spread, make sure they quarantine if they're infected, but B, to get them back in the classroom as soon as possible. So widespread blanket asymptomatic testing is not the answer. Rapid testing for every suspected case, that's where I'm hoping school districts start going.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for being here today. You can find more writing from Tim and the rest of the commentary team at WashingtonExaminer.com.